Welcome back. We're going to finish up our turtle for our culture project, our little sculpture, and we're also going to finish up working on the tile. So I'm going to go like stage 2 where I start to assemble everything just to show you guys how I would do it. So let's start with Mr. Turtle. So first thing I'm going to do is smooth the shell. Then I'm going to begin to attach the pieces and we'll do a quick video on that. So let's get going. So when I attach this, I'm just going to smudge them together, slip and score, and then I'm going to cut my holes for the legs. All right, so as you can see, I have my turtle shell put together. It's still a little rough. But I'm going to fix that after I attach the legs because I know I'm going to mess the shape up a little bit more when I'm doing that. So I'm going to focus on that, the rest of the design after my legs are in. Sorry, they're fins, not legs. So I don't want the fins to be square like that. So I'm just going around the edges and pinching them so they look more rounded and triangular like a fin would. So what I'm doing here is I'm adding a soft coil just around the seams because I stuck those in there. So I want to really seal those two things together. And it's also going to give me like a little layer of definition around there. So I'm going to leave the other edge of the coil alone so that it almost looks more like the turtle. So now I just have the head and the tail to do, and we are done with the turtle for today. All right, so this would be a great spot for me to end on day 2. I got all my pieces together. I can begin to mess around with it and try and alter the shape to get it the way I want it. So now my next step for Mr. Turtle, and you can see he's all put together. The bottom still needs to be smoothed out. I'm gonna work on smoothing out all those pieces first, then I'm gonna go to my designs and my fine detail. So I'm gonna put the whole piece together, and then I'm gonna work on smoothing things out. Get a sponge in here and really help that out. So it looks refined and finished on the bottom. And then I'm going to work on all the little details for the shell and then on the fins to get that texture so that it looks like an actual sea turtle. My goal here is to make this as detailed as possible, so I'm going to go with that. So as you can see, I'm already starting to make that bottom look nice and smooth. Smoothing out any cracks or pieces that are just kind of sticking out. And then I'll work on smoothing this side out. So I have a lot of detail to do. So I have to do the head, the fins, and then the body. And I also have to be super careful that I just am really gentle with this. These are gonna dry really quick. So I need to make sure I maybe wipe a little water on there every day because they're little pieces sticking off, whereas this is gonna take longer to dry because it's a big chunk of clay. So I'm just gonna go ahead and smooth this out. But as you guys can see, Mr. Sea Turtle's put together. I put it together so it looks like he's swimming, so his fins are in the air, which is also nice because this works as a good base for him to sit on instead of these little fragile legs. So that would be my next step for my sculpture. Begin to put your pieces together and then start to do a little bit of the detailing when you guys have time. So Mr. Turtle is going to go away. Wrap him up very carefully. And then the tile, here's where we left off yesterday. So I had my waves start to get carved out, my background's all around there, and I carved some of the details out of the background. Today I'm gonna work on adding pieces. So my Tiki Man, that's gonna get added here. I'm gonna smooth my details out from yesterday first so they look nice and smooth. I'll make that water. So I can just use my thumb too and push in some of that clay just to help define that shape. So now it looks like the mountains are behind the ocean. So using your finger to push in that clay and smooth it out, or carving a little around things. I'm gonna carve first and then I just use my finger to smooth out those details. And I can really press down because it's a slab. So today, I talked about my Tiki Man gonna go on there. So I'm gonna show you guys how I would attach that, how I would start those details, and then probably move on to more of the details of the flower and the turtle, and then get to where I need to be to finish this background. So I need to wait till my pieces are leather hard to attach them, especially because I'm attaching more designs on here. So I want to be able to make sure that I'm not collapsing this in. So that's why I made sure it was leather hard first. And now I just slip and score it and I'm blending it together really carefully. And as you guys will see, as I go along, I'll begin messing up my background a little bit, but it's nice to have most of it there. And then my last steps would be adding in the pieces there, which I'm gonna skip just for time's sake, but basically I would create something along the lines of this. Just to cap that off. Well, let's just put it on there for the sake of putting it on there. So I'm gonna do a little pinch, and I'm also gonna do a little slab. So I'm gonna cut the nose out generally and then pinch the rest of the shape. Also, this knife is not sharp if it's worrying you. So I use it for clay. It's not sharp at all, it's dull. It works really good because it's thin. So it'll cut through the clay easy, but it won't cut me. Knock on wood that I said that now. Some of that. So what I'm gonna do now is use pinch and coil, and I'm gonna attach all the pieces to my Tiki Man. All right, so I feel like I'm at a good point here to take a break from this. I'm gonna be really careful because I carved in here, it's thinner in the middle, so I need to be really, really gentle with this and try to keep it as flat as possible. So if I were you, I wouldn't even pick it up, but I wanna pick it up to show you guys my Tiki Man. So I added a base in there and I added the top, and then I took little coils and smoothed them on. You're gonna have to make sure you attach them really well. So I was just taking like a little wooden stick and kind of smoothing where those attachments are. So you can see I get that little extra layer of detail in there too when I do that. So this is just like a sharp pencil. So I'm gonna go around all my attachments, get some extra details in there. But this is a good spot for me to end today. Now I'll show you guys how I would do my flower petals, which I'm gonna prepare for tomorrow and my last day of this. So my background's okay. I still wanna do a little work on the mountain, but I wanna make sure I get everything set up before I finish any little details up here. So I cut a little bit back on my mountains so those stick out of the sky. My last step's gonna be the flower, the turtle, and then smoothing out all this stuff for a final time. So what I'm gonna do for my flower petals is I want them to be thin. But not too thin. Obviously, if I put this on there, that's gonna look silly because flower petals are thin, right? So my trick is just going around the outside and just pinching the outside. And that'll give the illusion that these are thin. So I'm just gonna take some water and smooth them out one more time. So now you get the general idea that these are thin, right? So I'll smooth out both sides, but these are gonna get attached here, and I'm gonna cut some more into this one because I don't really like the shape of that. So let's try to get, and then my last step would be to add the coils like I have in my sketches that I wanted to add a little bit of extra definition on my flowers. It's not gonna work right now with that one. So just like I did on here, I wanted to do a little extra decoration with coils just to give it another level of detail. So I was just gonna start here and just kind of decorate that flower petal, make it look a little illustrated like they did with their designs, like that. And then I'm gonna go around the edges of that and just make sure it's attached real good. So especially with little details added on, it's hard to smudge like we would when we attach something, or slip and score for that matter. So what I do is I take something really pointy, push this piece on to make sure it's really stuck there with water. So I dipped it in water, I stuck it on there, and then I'm just gonna take this pencil around both edges where that clay from the slab meets the clay from the coil. And that'll add a little line in there that looks really cool. But also secure it to it. You guys can see the little line it added inside there and on the outside. So this is how I'm gonna do my flower petals. I think they look illustrated and kind of match this, so I really like that idea to get that combination of things going together. And then the only thing I've left is that flower and the turtle. So I'm out of time today. I got my Tiki Man added. I started adding details. As you see, it's not super smooth and super detailed yet, so I haven't done my last layer. What I wanted to go do is make sure that this was good, and then make sure my flower gets attached or my pieces from my flower get made. So tomorrow, I'm gonna add that flower on there. I'm gonna add the turtle, and then my last day, I would go ahead and smooth everything out. Now, I'm starting to feel like this is getting a little dry. So what I'm gonna do is just take some water and massage it into the surface. Now, I don't wanna do that on anything that has all kinds of details because then I'm gonna ruin them. But my sky is pretty much done, so I'm just gonna massage some water on there because I still have to do the clouds. But that'll also help me smooth it out. Now, like I said, don't do that to any of the other parts because they have the details. So to wrap up today, day 2 of working on this slab project, I focused on adding one of the bigger pieces to the front. So one of the things I have standing out, and you guys can see how much that really stands out. So it does make this piece look interesting. It makes it look like it has multiple layers. So my flower is gonna get attached here tomorrow. And we're gonna kind of have it curl up like this. And then all the petals are gonna be there. So it's going off the page or off the tile, which I think will look really cool and add a nice visual element to it. I have my waves carved in. I have my size. So that's pretty much set besides the final like smooth out that I'll do at the end. And then this part's gonna be next. So like I said, that flower I'm gonna have hang off so that it looks interesting, adds a new visual element to it, and also kind of looks cool going off the page like that, I think. So I'll have my 5 petals, my little baby turtle, and then we'll be set. So most of the details on the background are done except for my final touches. Start with like the biggest piece you're gonna add on, and then I'm gonna go work on the smaller ones because the smaller ones are gonna dry way quicker. So I wanna put them on later and put the bigger pieces on first. And just one last helpful tip. If you add a lot of clay on top of this, we have to thin out the back. So what I'm gonna do, and this is a little bit more firm, but I'll show you right now. Normally I wouldn't wanna pick this up because I'll bend it, but because I attached this piece on there, I'm gonna be really careful, but I'm gonna cut some clay out of the back of the slab, just like that. It doesn't have to be pretty, nobody's ever gonna see the back. Just smooth that out. Just so that that can breathe and that's thinner, okay? Makes no difference to the piece, but now this will dry out more evenly because some air can get up in there, okay? So that is my Tiki Man. So hopefully that helps you guys with day 2 of working on your projects. And we'll wrap them up tomorrow and we'll finish them up and you guys can begin working on yours. Talk to you later.